Hey guys, Bird Yu-Gi-Oh here. So today I'm coming at you with a super fun deck, Ancient Warriors. Honestly, it reminds me of that video game Dynasty Warriors. I don't know if you guys played that, but the art and everything, just them with their swords and on horseback and all that, just kind of reminds me of that game. But it's a really fun deck. It's kind of like one of the best board-breaking decks out there. It can get through and break almost any board that your opponent puts up, so it's definitely going second deck. But now with actually the new support that just came out, as long as you open that card, you have a nice card for going first as well, or second. It's an amazing card. I'll show you when we get to it. But yeah, let's get right into this deck. If you guys have not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we'll get right into it. Starting off with our level 4 monsters. These are kind of like the ones you want to normal summon, or like gain an additional normal summon, stuff like that. So the first one is Masterful Sun Mu. Very good. Basically, you can while you control another Ancient Warriors monster, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks. So they all kind of have a bunch of really cool effects. His main one is you just send a card from your hand or field to the graveyard, and you can add any Ancient Warriors monster from your deck to your hand. Really good. And then if your other Ancient Warriors monster's effect is activated, you can target one monster your opponent controls and return it to the hand. So there's really good effects there. One kind of gets you going, and the other one just gets rid of another problem monster on the board. Another really good normal summon, not quite as good if you have to go first, but really good for going second, is Virtuous Lu Zhuan. So while you control another Ancient Warriors monster, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks. So they kind of all have that really cool clause there, these first few. But this one, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can send one card from your hand or field to the graveyard and special summon an Ancient Warriors monster from your deck. No restriction on levels, so you can summon any of your big ones. And then also he has another effect where when an attack is declared involving another Ancient Warriors monster you control, you can draw a card. So these cards are all just really good. And then we play also, the last level 4 that we play 3 of is Graceful Zhao Gong. So you can target a continuous spell and trap you control, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, you can add an Ancient Warriors spell and trap from your deck to your hand. And then if your other Ancient Warriors monster's effect is activated, you can target a effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of the turn. So these are all kind of just really good starters that you kind of want to see in every one of your hands, so that you at least have a normal summon, because a lot of the other cards we play are the higher level ones, but the last of the lower level, I guess I should say, is Ingenious Zhuge Kong. Just 2 of him, because you don't want to see him as much as you do these other guys, but you want to be able to special summon him from the deck is the main reason. So when he's added from the deck to your hand by the effect of an Ancient Warriors card, you can special summon this card. And then when a spell trap is activated, you can send one face-up Ancient Warriors spell and trap you control to the graveyard, negate the activation, and then if a monster effect is activated while you control Virtuous Lu Zhuan, so this guy, you can send another continuous spell and trap and negate the activation of a monster effect. So 2 really good effects. But obviously, it's really good to summon him off of Lu Zhuan, so you can use both of his effects if you want to. So yeah, but also, if you add him to your hand off of Sun Mu, you can special summon him. So you have a lot of ways of getting him out, but you do want him in the deck to either special summon out or add to your hand. But he's very good once you get him out. And then for probably the best card, I would have to say, of all the Ancient Warriors, is the new one that just came out. He's a higher level, but it's Rebellious Lu Feng. Cannot be normal summoned. You have to special summon it from your hand by controlling the highest attack Ancient Warriors monster. So that's super easy. Just normal summon one of these and special summon him. But then once per turn during the main phase, and it's a quick effect, so you can use it on your opponent's turn, you can destroy one face-up monster your opponent controls with the highest attack. And then also, you can't activate Ancient Warrior monsters, or you can't activate effects except for Ancient Warrior monsters. And then once per turn during the end phase, if your opponent happens to control a monster with the highest attack, you have to give control of this card to your opponent. But that doesn't usually happen very often. You kind of just summon all your monsters, get rid of all your opponent's monsters, attack for game. It's kind of what this deck does best. And then another really high level one and really important one to have in your hand when you're going second especially is Loyal Guan Yun. So if only your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon him from your hand, and your opponent cannot target other Ancient Warrior monsters you control with card effects. And then if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. So he's protection for some of your other normal summons. He's basically just like the first card you want to get out, if you can. Really good. And then we play two of some of the other higher level ones. We got two of the Valiant Zhang Di. Very, very good one. This one, if you control two or more Ancient Warrior monsters, you can special summon them from your hand. So obviously, you have to have two other monsters on board for him to even make it on board most of the time. And then if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, this card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during the battle phase. So kind of cool there. We also play 2 of the Ambitious Chao Day. Now him, if a card your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can send one other card from your hand or field to the graveyard and special summon this card from your hand. And then when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can special summon that monster to your field and defense position. So kind of really cool effect. And also, if you haven't noticed, all of these cards want to send a spell and trap to the graveyard, and your Ancient Warriors spells have effects when they hit the graveyard, so that's kind of the key to this deck. And then the last monster we play is 2 Fearsome Zhang Yuan. At the start of the damage step, when your Ancient Warrior monster battles an opponent's face-up monster, you can special summon this from your hand, and that opponent's monster loses 1,000 attack. So pretty much get over most monsters, because all these guys have pretty high attack. And then if a card your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target another card your opponent controls and destroy it. So as I said, these cards just destroy boards. All they do is just, pop cards, send cards back to the hand, just destroy cards like crazy. So really, really cool. And you actually don't even need to play any hand traps because you want monsters on your opponent's board, and you can get rid of pretty much anything pretty easily with all these cards. For the spells, the Ancient Warrior spells, probably the most important one to have is 3 Visits. Now this one, during your main phase, if you normal or special summon an Ancient Warriors monster, you can target one of those, and you can add an Ancient Warrior with a different name from your deck to your hand. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon an Ancient Warriors from your hand. So really good. And it's sent to the graveyard during your second standby phase after activation. And then another really important one is East by South Winds. 3 of that one again. So this one, during your main phase, you toss a coin, and if the result is heads, you can send it to the graveyard. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in the response to any of your Ancient Warriors cards or effects. So that is obviously really good for you to just kind of do whatever you want. And then this turn, all Ancient Warriors affect monsters you control. When this card declares an attack, you can destroy one card your opponent controls. So that's when this is sent to the graveyard. Yeah, they gain that effect. Really cool. And then we play 2 of the borrowing of arrows. So you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls and 1 Ancient Warriors you control. Have that opponent's monster, and then your other monster gains that added attack or gains that lost attack. And then if this card is sent to the graveyard, while you control 2 Ancient Warrior monsters with different attributes, you can place an Ancient Warrior's continuous spell and trap from your hand or deck face up on the field. Really good as well. And then the last one, for the Ancient Warriors at least, is 2 of the Sunlu Alliance. Now this one, if you control Ancient Warriors with 2 or more attributes, you can declare 1 attribute and your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters they currently control with that attribute. And then if your opponent special summons a monster, or you activate an Ancient Warriors effect, you can make all Ancient Warriors you control gain 300 attack until the end of the turn, even if this card leaves the field. So it's just yet another card, a continuous card that you can have on the field, and then be able to get some of your effects off that you need to. And then every single monster, all the Ancient Warriors, are Beast Warrior type. So this should seem pretty obvious, and it's also continuous, so you can use your Ancient Warriors effects to send this to the grave as well. But this will just search out any of your level 4 Beast Warrior type Ancient Warriors. And then another really good card is 3 Tensu. This one just allows you another normal summon, an additional normal summon. So it's obviously really good if you can normal summon this guy and then normal summon him. It just gets your plays going. And then for the traps, we play 2 of the Ancient Warrior Defense of Changban. So this one, let me move it up a little bit so it's not clear. At the start of your opponent's battle phase, you can send this card from your spell and trap zone to the graveyard, and monsters your opponent controls cannot target Ancient Warriors for attacks. And then when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish this from your graveyard and special summon an Ancient Warriors monster from your deck. So just pretty good. It's a trap, so it definitely don't need to play it at 3. And then 2 of the Chivalrous Path. If an Ancient Warriors monster would be destroyed by battle, you can send this to the graveyard instead. And then you can also, if your opponent special summons a monster, you can special summon an Ancient Warriors token with 500 attack, 500 defense. And then when a card or effect is activated that targets an Ancient Warriors monster on the field, you can banish this from your graveyard and negate the activation. So these are good protection if you get them to grave, and then pretty cool effects when they're on the field. And then the last card I'm playing, just to have something if I happen to be going first, is 3 Rivalry of Warlords, and it's yet again another continuous, and all we play is Beast Warrior type, so this doesn't affect us at all. And against certain decks, this will mess them up, especially Link reliant decks. So kind of a cool little tech card there. But that is it for the main deck. And for the extra deck, we are playing 2 of the Ancient Warriors Link. Double Dragon Lords. He is very, very good. The only problem, requires 2 Beast Warrior monsters, but you have to have, one of them has to be a Wind Ancient Warriors monster, which is not too difficult. There's a few of them in our main deck that are pretty easy to get out. But all Ancient Warriors monsters you control gain 500 attack. And then when this card is Link summoned, you're going to be able to add any Ancient Warriors card from your deck to your hand. And then a quick effect is you can send 1 card from your hand or field to the graveyard and target a face-up card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. So this one does not destroy, so that's a really good alternative to some of your other destruction cards in your main deck. Really good. We're also playing Firefighting Darumadal. He just requires 2 Beast Warrior types, gains 100 attack for each Beast Warrior in your grave, on the field, and then you can target a spell and trap on the field, on each player's field, and destroy them. And then if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can target a Beast Warrior that is banished or in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So 3 really good effects on him. And then a going first card alternative is IP Masquerena. And then we, of course, have the Nightmares for just disruption and then potentially interruption on your opponent's turn with IP Masquerena. And then another just really important card to have, just in case you can't destroy a card that your opponent has. Ningirsu is really nice because you can just send one card from each player's field to the graveyard. So it doesn't destroy, doesn't target. Really cool. And we also are playing in Appaloosa. It's pretty easy to flood the field with a lot of monsters, so you could potentially get this out pretty easily if you want. And same thing with Boral Sword. If you want to OTK, even easier than you already can with this deck, making a Boral Sword is kind of nice. And then for our rank 4s, Tiger King, since we're playing obviously the Fire Formation cards, Tiger King should be pretty self-explanatory. When you Xyz summon it, you can set a Fire Formation directly from your deck. And then also a really cool effect, you can detach one and then negate the effects of all face-up monsters on the field except for Beast Warrior type. So until the end of your opponent's turn. So pretty much against most decks it's going to shut them off. Really nice to have. Dugaris, another really cool card. Tornado Dragon, destroy a spell and trap. And then the last rank 4 we play is Exciton Knight, just to blow up the board. We're going second, so sometimes it's nice to just make this and attempt to blow up the board. And then you can make rank 7s, so Big Eye is just a really good one to make. And then rank 8 to play is just a Hope Harbinger, just kind of playing the best, that we can for a deck like this. So that is the deck, guys. This is honestly a deck that I've been playing a lot of online, just because it's so fun to just kind of go second and see what you can do to boards. And most of the time it's an OTK and you win. Probably about half the time it's that way. But yeah, this new card, where is it? Yeah, Rebellious Lu Feng was just a really, really good support card. It's perfect for this deck because this allows you to have a nice disruption on your opponent's turn. Because if there's one thing that this deck does, is it builds a really good board, but usually you don't have much resources after that. So if your opponent gets rid of your board, then you don't really have any follow-up plays. But a card like this is just really nice to have, so you can still have stuff to do on your opponent's turn. But yeah, really fun deck. I like the ratios I have here, but test out a lot of different things with this. It's a really cool deck. And we'll catch you on the next one.